Welcome back to the channel, guys. So I'm gonna go through and start talking about marching basics and stuff like that finally. So I'm gonna make this a separate category, separate playlist, and it's just gonna be everything on the marching side of the game, everything to do with battles. So I'm just gonna start with the basics, right? So this video is gonna be a two-part. First I'm gonna tell you how to go through and deploy soldiers, and then I'm gonna tell you the things that you need to be considering when you do. So before I start, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Leave me a like down below, and leave me a comment if you have anything to add, any ideas, anything that I miss. Just let me know so that other people can see too and they can learn from it. That's the idea with these videos, is to get people off the ground so that they can get going in this what I feel is a really good game. This might be Koei's best modern strategy game. So also, I am going to be starting a playthrough pretty soon, so if anybody has any suggestions for the playthrough to do on the channel, let me know. Okay, so let's get into it. So, loaded up this file here. First thing you're going to do, you're going to hit X, go down to March, Military, pretty straightforward.
Shouldn't we move?
And then you're going to choose from where. Now the game's going to automatically, it's always going to form a unit automatically, and it's going to take all of the troops, all of the guys who are substitutes in your main land, and add them to your liege, and he's going to march. It's just going to auto do all that. So then it's going to ask you to pick a direction to go. Now you need to know that you need to not do this right away. Do not just go with the flow on this. It's never going to be that simple. So you always want to autocorrect. Go to your liege's portrait right there, or actually the castle, click on it and start to look through here and make sure that you're happy with the people that you're sending, right? Look at the tactics. You can see right there how much it's going to boost by. Now let's say you want to send 2 units, okay, which is something that I recommend. Always try to send at least 2 units. Even if you're going to send everybody anyway, you want to be able to cover more ground for when you do battles. So split it up, right? So I would send these 3. Let's say I want to send him and these 2 guys, and then I'll send these 3 guys. So, or let's say there's somebody specifically that I want to be in charge. Then I need to consider the ranking system. Hopefully by now I've already put out the video talking about the console phase. I think it's going to be called Console and Honor, and that's going to explain to you how honor works, how these rankings are determined. But basically know this, if this guy on the bottom here has better stats than these 2 guys up here, his stats, he's not going to be considered in charge of the unit. These guys are going to supersede him. So why does that matter? Because of the honor associated with the guy who's running the show is going to get the honor during the battle. Okay, so it is kind of important when you're trying to grow some of these officers and make them better, which that's something else. I'm gonna hopefully kick out another video talking about how to hyper focus officers that you like, officers that you want to grow. But it's important for that reason. So if I really want to send him out, 750 here on the bottom, I don't know his name, but if I really want to send him out, then I'm gonna have to leave him off to the side, send these 3, then create another unit where he's the only participant in that unit. It's the only way to ensure that he's going to get honor. Okay, like I said, there'll be an honor video somewhere on the playlist, although I think it's going to be on the other playlist, the basics playlist, and that'll be talking about how to accrue honor. So consider that as well. But let's just say you want to send whoever, right? So I'm just going to send these 3. That's going to be 1 unit. So once I confirm that,
Do not stray.
now I have 1 unit. Remember that the game's always going to try to group everybody under your daimyo right away. You don't want to do that. You want to at least send 2 units. Almost always you want to send at least 2 units. Unless you just have, I don't know, you have Nobunaga by himself and he's completely stacked and there's no one else that's even close to him, then I guess keep them all. You know, rare situations like that where it's not worth splitting it up, sure. But 9 times out of 10, split up.
March.
Okay, have at least 2 standing armies. You can, you know, cover more ground, It doubles up on the occupation rate, I think. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it does, because I feel like you occupy faster when you have more units, right? So it's pretty straightforward. Now the things to consider when you're marching, okay? Externally, this is just, if you've played any of Koei's games, you know that when you leave, having somebody invade you, getting backdoored, right, is a thing in all of these games. So anytime that you leave, you have to consider who are my allies, who are not my allies, and you have to have a contingency, okay? Even if your contingency plan is to not have a contingency plan, okay, then you need to be okay with that and accept that. Okay, there's a possibility that I'm going to get invaded, and I can't do anything about it. You have to know that. If you're not allied with them, they can attack you. They can declare war. Now, this is on normal difficulty. I haven't experienced it where it's hyper aggressive yet. I'm assuming on hard, if it's anything like the other games in the series, on hard and extra hard, the AI is probably going to be insanely aggressive. So anytime that you leave even the smallest opening, they're probably going to attack. So, you know, consider that. Consider who you're allied with. Remember, you can call on your allies anytime that you get attacked, and it's never going to cost you anything. Just go to diplomacy, go to negotiate.
What does this concern?
Click on your ally, and you can click on defend. There's no cost associated with defending. There is a cost associated with attacking. So helping you gain territory has a flat cost. Defending does not. So you can attack, and my recommendation when you're small, bring almost everybody, leave a skeleton force or a skeleton force nearby, okay, or a tribe. I like getting the tribes because you can instantly draft them in at a moment's notice and bring them into the fold for offense or defense. So have a skeleton crew ready to man the castle in case somebody invades you, and have at least 1 or 2 alliances. I recommend 2 alliances. No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, have 2 alliances. Unless, you know, you're one of these big forces, one of the big, I'm not even sure. I was going to say 3 kingdoms, but this game is much more there's a lot more South Cells and Liu Beis in this game. Almost, you know, in every region of the game. There's about 6 or 8 South Cells and Liu Beis in this game. So, but unless you're one of these big forces, then maybe you can get away with 1 alliance. I still recommend that you ally with 2 of your neighbors. This file is earlier, but as this file develops, I formed an alliance with the Rokaku, and I kept the Asakura alliance, so that my flanks would be covered. The more allies you have, the more allies you can call in to help you defend. Okay, you don't have to just call 1 person. Leave a skeleton crew, call your first ally, call your second ally to help you defend if you get invaded. But just keep that in mind, you're probably going to get invaded while you move out. Another thing to keep in mind, this one's really important. When you go to march, okay, let's see if I can do it from here.
At once.
When you go to march and you go to form your force, you have to consider what county these guys are coming from. Okay, so let's return these guys. Let's send all these guys back. I'll show you what I mean.
Perhaps I should move out troops.
Okay. So I'm going to go to march again.
Perhaps I should move out troops.
In this list here, you may notice that the numbers are all different. They're all really different. That's because they're pulling troops based on what county they're working in, where they're substituting from. If you're marching them from the castle, it's going to be the same thing. What plot of land did you give them, and how developed is that plot of land? Okay, the plots of land that have more farms, that have a focus on agriculture and commerce, are going to yield more troops. So those plots of land are going to have more troops that they can deploy from. There's going to be a bigger conscription there. So when you're building your buildings, when you're choosing what you're going to put together, remember that it's really good idea to focus on at least 2 counties, I'd say 3 counties if you can. Hyper focus on troop development, and then assign your best generals to those plots of land. If you don't do it at first, just remember to come back every once in a while and shuffle your deck. Shuffle these guys around. Go through the list and figure out who's my best officer. Like right now, this guy right here, he's a very, very strong officer for my force, let's say. I want to have him over here because this plot of land allows 800 instead of 400. So you want to shuffle this around. In a couple of years, Nagamasa, the heir, is going to join, and he's going to have easily the best stats in the whole force. But if I don't assign him, first of all, if I don't assign him to any of these roles, like my very first video that I covered, if I don't assign him to here, he's never going to be part of my marching army. That's the first thing. And secondly, when I do assign him here, I'm going to want to give him as many troops as possible outside of my daimyo's castle. Your daimyo is always going to be able to deploy the most because he's going to be able to benefit from castle structures. So when you go to castle structures here, that's a little bit trickier on the console. I imagine it's easier to use an actual mouse and clicker. Okay, when I go to town facilities and I build the training grounds, right? That's going to give me 900 troops. Those 900 troops are going to go straight to the Castle Lord. This is one of the reasons that Castle Lord is so important. The Castle Lord and the daimyo, whoever's in charge of the castle, they reap the benefits from those extra troops. So you need to appoint people. When you go to march, you need to have your best guys on the best plots of land. And your daimyo, if you want to beef up his numbers, you don't have to. My daimyo is not the greatest. He's not very good at all. But you need to fight your battles head to head as much as possible. Okay? So I'm going to bring him anyway. But I'm not too focused on his troop yield. Not yet. But if he was a Nobunaga Oda, a Kenshin, a Shingen, anybody that's even mediocre, you better believe that I'd be raising his troop capacity as much as possible. And once everything gets filled out, then I'm going to raise his troop capacity anyway, because you're going to hit a point where there's no one else to, you can only put so many troops here. This is where you can get the most yield. So sooner or later, it's going to be like, you're going to reach the point where you're going to say, okay, he's not the greatest, but I might as well increase my troop numbers, because I've reached capacity here, right? Now your Castle Lord is really important for the same reason. When you go to march here, your Castle Lord is going to reap the benefits of his town facilities. So he's got these trading grounds here. You can see there, he's getting 900 each. So when he goes to deploy, whoever's the Castle Lord here, they're going to be able to deploy a ton of troops for themselves personally. And again, you can lump them all together, but you want to split your units. That's the thing. You want to split your units. So you want to have at least 2 units coming out of each territory. I haven't gotten to the point where I'm like I have a whole region, so I don't know about 3 units or 4 units out of one place. I don't know yet. Like I said, we're just keeping it on the basics here. And even in the very beginning of the game, you still want 2 units. Pay attention to your ranks when you highlight. They're already organized for you. So if I bring my Liege Lord, let's say I'm not going to bring my Liege Lord. If I want to bring this guy here, and I want him to be in charge, I cannot add this guy to the stack, because he's higher ranked. He's going to take over for him. Now that they're both highlighted, he's going to be the leader. He's going to get the honor. And he might be a civil officer. Maybe I don't want him to have honor. Maybe I don't need him to advance in honor anymore. It's not necessary. So consider that when you're marching. Who's the leader of which units? And how do I maximize my troop yields? If this is going to be my second guy, then he needs to be on the plot of land that gives him the most amount of troops, so that his unit has a higher ceiling. Hopefully that makes sense. His unit needs to have a higher ceiling because everyone beneath him can only have so much, and I can't keep going up because these guys are going to supersede. So this is all he's working with. So this is as much as I can get his troops up to. So what I could do is, let's say the guy above him has 1,000 troops in his territory, where I could swap them. So what I do is, you go to a point, substitute, and you'd find the territory that the other guy is at. So let's say I wanted to swap these two. I go over here. And actually, I don't know him by name. What is he at? He's in Momose? Okay. So I go here.
You have my thanks.
Give him that. And I go here. He's an attendant now. I think this is him here.
I have never known such joy.
Okay, now I've swapped them. So now when I go to march,
Should we move?
their troop numbers are swapped. You see that? Now he's the one who's got 600 and the other guy's got 800. So if I wanted him to lead the unit, now he's got a higher amount of troops. So yeah, like I said, that's going to be the things to consider. Like I said, very basic, kind of straightforward, but like I said, the troop yield, pay attention to that. Who's working what plots of land, so that when it comes time for you to deploy 2 units, you can maximize that second guy. The first guy is not that hard. Your daimyo, he's going to be able, training grounds, all those facilities are going to be able to boost his numbers up much higher than they should be. Okay, so if your daimyo was really good, you could just send Nobunaga. If you had Nobunaga, you could just send Nobunaga, because he'd be able to command a ton of soldiers and his stats would be great. And that's an advantage, because now you can split up your force. You know, if I had Nobunaga here up top, then I could just send him, and he'd have a good amount of troops, and he'd make 1 unit, and then I could divide this and maybe put out 2 more units to support him, or 3 more units, who knows. You know, when you have more quality, you have, obviously you're going to be able to you're going to have more doors open for you. And just remember that daimyo's going to have more. The castle lord's really important. Once I get Nagamasa, I put him in charge of this castle. Why? Because he's my best officer, and putting him in charge of a castle will give him the biggest troop yield. So my best officer can now deploy a huge amount of soldiers. The best way to get him soldiers. So yep, alright, that's going to be the video. Like I said, this is going to be on a new playlist. It's just going to be combat and marching focused, and at some point we'll get to more nuanced, I would say, more nuanced stuff. And like I said, we'll be starting a campaign pretty soon on the channel. If you guys have any suggestions for the campaign, any comments, just let me know. I'll see you guys on the next one.